Okay, and we are live from the commercial kitchen here at York Meadow Farm today to get started before making kimchi and learning about kimchi and learning how we make kimchi here. We are not only here with myself, but hey, Pops, come over, say hi. We're here with my dad,
Hello.
the Crock guy, the one and only. The original Crock guy himself. So he's going to be hanging out with us for about a half an hour or so. Is that right, Pops?
Right.
Okay, about a half an hour or so before he gets moving on with the rest of his day. What do you got going on today, Pops?
I'm teaching.
What do you teach and where?
I have a math class that I'm teaching at Cuyahoga Community College in Brunswick. And actually, this is a good class, good group of students. It's intermediate algebra.
Okay. If you're talking, I'm going to try and stand over by you. So anyways, here's what we've got going on. I'll stand over here and sort of demonstrate the whole setup. No, you're fine. This book here, which is on the action cam here, is a book, Wild Fermentation by Sandor Katz. It's a book that Dad's readily used and referenced, and I am now referencing more and more as I learn more and more about the art of fermentation. So for those of you who are interested in what this is here on the action cam, then I just wanted to let you know. And if I see a couple people out there, I would just encourage you guys to drop a comment and let us know where you are watching from and how you found out about the live stream, through which platform you saw it posted on.
Oh, you know how many people are out there?
Yeah, it shows in the little ticker in the upper corner how many people are actively watching. So, yeah. So I guess before we really get started, just a couple things I would like to mention is this whole live streaming experience is first and foremost coming to you from here at York Meadow Farm. If you want to learn more about the Crock guy, if you want to learn more about everything that's going on here, then check out yorkmeadowfarm.com. You'll know you're in the right place by a recognizable logo in the top right-hand corner of your screen. And also, I would like to say thank you to Food Forest Farms, who is helping us out with the streaming experience and helping us to learn more about how to grow our business. So check out foodforestfarm.com. Keep an eye on the scrolling banner below for updates as we go on. But without further ado, let's get into what the heck is going on right now. We're making kimchi. And some of you guys might be asking, what is kimchi? So let's talk about that, Dad. What is kimchi?
Kimchi is an Asian, and some would say primarily Korean, ferment. And this is our take on it. I was once told by I think it was a Korean. Anyway, he said there are as many different recipes for kimchi as there are Korean grandmothers. And that pretty well sums it up. In other words, there's a lot of flexibility with what you can do and what you put into your kimchi. And it comes down to what you like, which means you've got to try a bunch of things before you find out what you like, I guess. But our take on it, and so far our reviews have been good, is we use cilantro, napa cabbage, daikon radish, and then the seasonings that go into it are ginger, which I'm peeling right now, gochugaru, which is I hope I pronounced that right, which is a Korean spice blend, mostly very, very much peppers, dried peppers. Fish sauce, which, if you're from Vietnam, you would pronounce it as nuoc mam, and that gives a lot of flavor to the kimchi. If you wanted a vegan version of kimchi, you would probably not use the fish sauce because it's made from fermented fish.
I'm just standing here right now. Hold that thought. I'm just standing here right now because I'm going to go get gloves and get the daikon radish and start chopping that. But I was standing there so I could catch you on the microphone. But let me grab gloves and let me grab the radishes, and then we can keep chatting. But by all means, or keep talking, and I can kind of fill in what you're talking about in the background as I'm grabbing the radishes. What were you saying about Nook Mon? Vietnam and fish sauce?
Yeah, garlic ginger fish sauce and the Korean spice oil.
Yeah, so
for those of you that might be interested
and
in it,
here you can show the hold it up close to the camera because that's what I was going to do. This is the there you go. You got to see where you're.
I see it. Anyway, that's our spice bread.
You want to give the pronunciation of the brand an attempt because I was certainly going to do so later, and I'm sure we're both going to butcher it.
All I can say is it says packed in Korea. Back here.
Yeah, I actually so this is a lot. This is a lot to take on in terms of making kimchi in your own kitchen. However, for those of you who are interested in this process, I'll just make a quick mention now before we continue talking that I did an episode on how to make kimchi on any scale, starting with a mason jar on your countertop, moving up into one of these containers, a Cambro 8-quart container, and then ultimately what you can do to move up into a 5-gallon container. Because the process and everything is basically the same, and what we're talking about and what we talked about this morning is the technique, the process, the ratios, the ingredients, and all of that stuff that you need to learn how to make it on a small scale, because no matter what scale you make it on, it's generally the same. So for those of you who are interested in what we're talking about but not sure how to apply it on your scale in the kitchen, then by all means go to allaroundgrowth.co and you can listen to this morning's podcast, which dovetails nicely with this episode. Boy, how about that, Pops?
Oh boy.
Okay, so those radishes are huge.
Yeah, they are.
Anyways, guys, we've done a lot of prep work up until this point, and we have we're gonna make one minor adjustment here, Pops, to the action cam so that we can better utilize the garbage can. All right, guys, this is live in action. It doesn't get much better than this as we figure out exactly what we're doing here. We get Dad and I on the action cam. So, what was I? Was I just in the middle of something, or was I just rambling?
I'm not sure.
I'm talking about these daikon radishes. These things are ginormous. So, this is kind of cool. Daikons are talked about a lot in permaculture spheres. And for those of you who aren't really familiar with what daikons are and what they can do, this is what we're looking at. This is a good size daikon radish. And if you're growing these things in your garden and then you just leave them there and this turns into your soil, I mean, you tell me, what are we looking at here? Good stuff. So, but in this case, we're not turning them into soil. We're turning them into, what are we turning them into, Pops?
Kimchi.
Yeah. So yeah, like Dad was saying, there's all sorts of variations with kimchi. And here, do you want to stick that stuff in a bowl or just roll with it as? Oh, okay. With all the variations in kimchi, there are, this is our take on it. So basically, our take on kimchi consists of napa cabbage, daikon radish, green onions, cilantro, and then a paste that's mixed in with those vegetables. So we've got a core group of 4 vegetables, 4 veggies. It's napa cabbage, daikon radish, green onion, and just a little bit of cilantro. In the podcast, we break down the percentages. And then in the paste that we mix in, it's ginger, which Dad's cutting up now, and then some garlic and fish sauce and the gochugaru pepper that Dad mentioned earlier. So I'll go ahead and grab a bunch of garlic.
It's worth pointing out that we stick to this recipe because we want consistency in our final product. We don't, that's what our customers expect. I don't know if that's what you mean.
Oh yeah, the whole idea of being a slave to a recipe. Well, as we were talking and going through our notes this morning, we had at a minimum 6 different iterations of our recipes that have resulted in what we make consistently. So yeah, fermentation, successful fermentation is a process, a long-term process. I figure I better get to work too. This is a lot of the exciting part of kimchi, huh?
Yeah, I can't stand it.
Whenever you're making kimchi, guys, during the prep work, it's important to try and contain your enthusiasm.
I want to trim these ends on the garlic.
Yeah, maybe. I don't. You're just gonna roll with it. I mean, hell, there's a bunch of skins and whatever we couldn't get off the ginger. We peeled the garlic, so it's fine. It's all going to be pureed anyways. And that's going to be a fun part of the live stream, guys. We get to run through making the puree with you. So that's actually going to be a bit loud and kind of annoying. And maybe what I'll do is while we're making the puree, hey, Dad, here's an idea. Maybe what we'll do while making the puree is I'll set up some background music within StreamYard and do some experimentation with that, because that's what, for those of you who are watching, this live streaming, this whole YouTube channel is new. And a lot of the way that the podcast, a lot of the direction that the podcast has taken lately is in part because of the volume of work that I'm doing here. I'm self-employed. I've had some other side gigs, but this is my primary, this is what we're doing. This is where my hustle and my time is. So in a sense, the podcast over time has been this thing, this project, if you will, that's documented a lot. Are you going to start with all the garlic at once?
Yeah, I was going to start to grind that down, then add the ginger.
I don't know if we're going to fit all that, though, in that food processor. all that ginger and all the garlic. We may have to do 2 batches. That's going to be full. That's going to be full. But anyways, the podcast sort of documents the transition over time and life and lately the time and change with life has resulted in a transition where I spend the bulk of my time, effort, and energy here, growing the family business now. So this has become a big part of the show. And you'll actually see, for those of you who are interested in what I'm talking about, you'll see that the show, we're going to return to our roots tomorrow as we talk about the goal setting guide that was such an integral component of the show at this time last year, as we kind of return to that heading into the end of the year, getting ready for 2023. It's a long-winded way of saying this channel is new, live streaming is new, and once we get this food processor going, I will continue chopping and weighing out these daikon radishes and see if we can get some nice background music in there and tone out some of the music from the food processor. So this should be an interesting experiment. Right, Pops?
Life is an interesting experiment.
Ha ha ha. Wisdom right there, everyone. Life is an interesting experiment. From the Kraut guy. And if you're not experimenting in your life, I'm not going to tell you that you're doing it wrong, but I am going to tell you that you may want to take some things into consideration and perform some reflection. Think about why you're not. I'd like to think at some point, Dad, that you know, because that's what half of this is. You know, I don't want to interrupt you while you're weighing that out.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's why when Mom was asking us if we needed anything else, I thought, yeah, maybe we should order some more gochugaru, because we were going to get into that last bag for sure, I thought. And we are, huh?
Yeah.
That seems like a lot. I don't remember using that much before. Is that it?
Well, I calculated correctly.
Oh, so we didn't use up that bag.
No, we used up one bag. We had one on the shelf.
Oh, we used up that bag and then almost all of that other one? Wow. All right.
Yeah, and I'll double check the calculation.
No, I'm not questioning you. I just like you know, I was my numbers are skewed after doing the podcast this morning, because I took our recipe and broke it down to the equivalent of one head of napa cabbage, whereas we have 2 cases worth, you know. So I'm yeah, my numbers are all somewhat erratic and
For what it's worth,
skewed.
this cabbage over here was almost 88 pounds after we trimmed it. So we had a lot of cabbage.
And soaked it.
And so,
Yeah, because that's one thing, and I briefly mentioned, and I'm going to mention this repeatedly throughout the live stream today, just in the case that people are popping in and catching us midstream. For those of you who are out there watching, excuse me, again, feel free to drop a comment with where you are and how you found us. And also check out this morning's podcast at allaroundgrowth.co on how to scale down this recipe and make something comparable or even better in your own kitchen. Because generally, things that you make yourself are better than that which you buy, unless you screw it up, in which case you can just come buy ours. But, oh, yeah, what I was saying before while you were weighing that stuff out is, oh, boy, that's going to be a weird matchstick. How about that, huh? This is what you get, though. Sometimes things are irregular.
Big matchsticks.
But, a lot of the time that we spend in here are, is this kind of like halved out already?
Yeah.
All right. Can I set this here and we can go ahead and start weighing that out? But one of the things that we're oftentimes doing in here is just talking about life and stuff, and it's I think there's a lot of value in this live stream in addition to just the information that comes as a result of or regarding fermented foods. Not that we're some sort of gurus on life, but hey, you've got life experiences, I've got life experiences. And what would be nice is if it turned into some sort of talk about that in conjunction with questions and answers about fermented food is the whole journey that we're on and taking, Because I'm sure some of those other people that tuned in the other day, especially the person that commented, for the life of me, I can't remember their name, from Kansas. They've got their own story, their own journey.
Kansas, huh?
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
Where are we at?
1600. We need 2700.
Oh, boy.
Need any more in there?
Nope. Well, I said around 5 pounds, but wasn't expecting the case to be that big. Anything?
Yep.
Oh, really? Hey, now. I just figured we could go short, but rather not.
This should get us real close.
All right. Good deal. Okay. Dad, I don't know if you're watching the time or anything, but it's 10:24. Okay. I'm certainly not kicking you out. As a matter of fact, I think having you on these live streams in the future and then planning them out, if we could do like a live stream on a Friday or something, and have a big day planned, where people are tuning in for a special episode with the Crock guy. Maybe that's something that we could do periodically.
This is garlic. That's roughly half the ginger and garlic.
Okay.
We're at 2,000. Two kilograms of daikon. Got another 700 to go, and I think you've easily got that.
All right. So you're degloving. You're out of here, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, that's all right. I'm glad that you were able to. Jesus, I hope we can fit all this in the bowl.
Yeah.
We're gonna be we're coming close to overflowing here. Oops. Yeah, so while you're checking that out, I'll just show you real quick a couple things. So over here, for those of you who are interested in what kimchi is, kimchi is a traditional Korean side dish of salted and fermented vegetables such as napa cabbage and daikon radish. Like we said, or like Dad said, there's as many recipes for kimchi as there are Korean grandmothers, and then some. So, you know, we do what we do, and that's what we do. And then also, Dad, one other thing that's kind of nice, and this is all something that Brian set up for us, by the way. He created these banners, and then you can change and put little overlays and things that say live, and then I can custom create one that says live at York Meadow Farm.
Wow.
I can do something like this. I need to mess around with it, but there's a lot of customization and things that we can do. Like I just added some bubbles in the background. And this will be the thing that I experiment with, is this background music while I have the food processor running. So anyways, everybody who's watching the live stream now,
How do you know how many there are?
up here. So we've got one watching.
Oh, good.
And it's quite possible that the one watching is the action cam. I don't know. But yeah, there's lots of stuff to learn, and I'm glad that you were able to participate in it this morning.
Me too. I'll see you later.
Okay, Pops, have a good, I don't know, rest of the morning and afternoon, and I'll see you later. Actually, guys, I'm going to deglove here and plug in the old speaker here and get some tunes going, because there's really no reason to do anything differently than normal. And until we get some engagement from the audience, I will go ahead and treat this just like any other normal processing day or kraut making day, which includes listening to some tunes. So we'll see what I think what we'll do is we'll listen to some Goose. They were recently featured on Jimmy Fallon, and it's exciting to see the band gain some traction. I've been a fan of Goose since 2019 and kind of watched them come up over the years, and it's been an interesting ride to observe them as a band and everything that they're doing as they're playing. So we'll go ahead and get started with a show from December 4th, unless there's something on this day in Goose history. Nope. So we're going to go ahead and listen to a show from Stowe, Vermont, at the Spruce Peak Performing Arts Center on December 4th. Very good. And I thought I brought some chewing gum out here. It looks like I did not. So we'll have to survive. Actually, I did bring the chewing gum out here. It's in my pocket. The answer is in my pocket. Okay, hello out there. If you're just joining us, then by all means, drop a comment. Let us know where you're tuning in from and what questions you have about kimchi. Dad was here with us, and he had to take off. The crowd guy still teaches part-time. Yeah, when it comes to chopping daikon radish matchsticks, we chop them about 8 inches. I'm sorry, 1/8 of an inch. Somewhere like that. It varies. At some point, we will be looking up to scaling up with a commercial vegetable slicer, and that will be very nice. But those aren't cheap, guys, and we're proud to say that we are doing everything here, at least with regard to the fermented foods operation, debt-free. We're cash flowing all of this, including the commercial kitchen. This, everything that's in here, everything that you see in the background has been paid for in full. And I think that that's a big component of any kind of homesteading endeavor, because I can speak to this from experience, because I tried to go full on Mr. Permaculture, Johnny Permaculture a few years ago, and in order to build the high tunnel and do all this other stuff that I did, I ended up going deeply in debt. I had almost $25,000 in debt, and you know, while preaching sustainability and all of these things, it was exactly the antithesis of what I was living. 27. Okay, so we are right about there. That indeed got us to where we need to be with the daikon radish. So luckily, I overlooked a couple of the daikon radishes that were there earlier. Thank goodness. That was one aspect of the produce run that I did not assist Dad with the unloading. All right, so what we've got to do now is chop the cilantro. Get that ready. Go ahead and get that over here in the action cam. We'll wrap this thing up and stick it back in the fridge here. And it looks like I've got some leftover daikons for an experiment here. And before I get started here, I'm going to grab a couple more bunches of cilantro because I think, from my ballpark estimate, we're going to be a little bit short. So for those of you who can't see right now, I have walked next door into the commercial, the walk-in cooler rather, and that is where we store the bulk of the produce. All right. So, all right, we've got bunches of cilantro here, and what we do with this is really quite simple. I'll put that in there, transfer this in here, and we'll get ready to chop some cilantro. And we're not extremely particular about what and how we do it, but I've learned that chopping, just taking a bunch of cilantro and chopping a bit at an angle, making sure as not to cut the twist tie or whatever kind of wrap is on there, damage your knife. But that seems to work quite well for us. So give it a chop, a couple chops. That seems to be good enough. Okay, so right there, what was that? 3 bunches. It gave us about 83 grams. And who knows, guys? I may need to grab a couple more. We'll see what happens. So some of the bunches looked bigger than others, but when you're buying cilantro and basically everything by the caseload, you know, not everything is going to be extremely consistent all the time. You know, not unlike the grocery store. But generally speaking, there's a little bit more consistency at the grocery store. Wouldn't really work for grocery stores if they were inconsistent. Wouldn't really work for anybody if they were inconsistent. But speaking of the volume of dealing with commercial growers and produce distributors, cases themselves are consistent. So, anywho, blah blah blah. Even if we get a commercial vegetable slicer, there will still be some things that we do that are whoopsies. Somehow, the scale went out. I don't think it's the battery, but I guess we'll find out. Okay. So this gets us upwards of about 200 grams, and we need double that. So we're going to need a significant more amount of cilantro. And luckily, we buy volume of it because, you may be asking, what do we do with all this spare cilantro when you're buying, cases of it at a time? Well, that's a good question, because we've finally gotten to a point where we've determined that it makes sense for us to dovetail the production of the jalapeno cilantro puree with the production of the kimchi, because, well, we're using a bunch of cilantro. And when you basically, it comes down to the fact that when you buy more cilantro and you buy cilantro in bulk, you get it cheaper. And we like money. I'm sure you like money. And so we've simply adjusted our operations to accommodate larger volumes of certain types of produce at certain times. So, that's one way that we've been able to make some adjustments as we grow our business on the homestead and grow all around, if you will. So, in addition to learning about kimchi, when you tune into these live streams, you're also learning a lot more about, the homestead and what we're doing here, and, what it took to get here. And, for me, I'm sure down the road, and I'm sure already there are some people that are just simply saying that I'm piggybacking and riding on the coattails of daddy and mommy. And that's okay. I understand that. But I don't think anybody that's going to say that really knows the full extent and the history of what's been going on here for the past 10 years. And that's something that I was alluding to earlier with this live streaming, is that this channel is new, but the podcast has been in existence for 2 years. I've got a base of content that dates back 2 years, long while I was still working in corporate America and focused on, my career, and just thinking that my life was going to go in a very different direction than the direction it's currently taking. And a big part of the reason why I've been able to make those adjustments so quickly has been on account of goals that I've set and the way that I've worked through setting my goals. And we're going to talk a lot about that. Well, not necessarily a lot, but we're going to talk about that some in tomorrow's episode with the goal setting workbook that I used. I'm going to show you how to get that for free. And then we're also going to talk about one of the many online communities that I'm involved in, specifically the 48 Days community, and how that's been a benefit to me over the past year or so is basically when or no, has it been 2 years since I've been a member? I was a member for a while, and then at some point when I, transitioned out of my job or switched bank accounts and was far less active on social medias than I am now. I think I actually, it was when I switched bank accounts. And I just got to a point where I lost touch with the community, and my subscription lapsed for a couple of months, as did my activity on basically all social medias. But since then, I have become more active there, and I'm trying to engage with it just like any other social media platform, because effectively that's what one aspect of 48 Days Eagles community is this provides this awesome social media platform through Mighty Networks. And it's important to point that out, because Mighty Networks creates this environment that is conducive to the social media without using and relying on other platforms and the stipulations and rules that they have. So, if you're a content creator and you're looking to create a community and you're really not satisfied with a lot of things out there, you may want to check out the Mighty Networks platform or check out the 48 Days Eagles community, because there are a number of people in there, content creators, who are all doing all manner of things, including but not limited to creating content and building community. And I know for a fact that some of you guys out there in our shared communities are in the 48 Days Eagles community as well. For example, dudes like Ken Etch from the Constructive Liberty podcast. And, Ken, if you're out there watching, I have not forgotten about you. I have approximately 237 tabs open on multiple internet browsers and several Word documents, one of which is the form to your show, because I'd very much like to be on that, since you asked me a very long time ago, because you thought we might have some things in common. And after getting to know you online through the various communities that we are all a part of, I agree and would very much like to talk about that with you, or talk about, the questions that I'm assembling with you on your show. So I have also not forgotten about you, Brian, from the Lots Project, and look forward to having a detailed in-depth conversation with you on your show as well. And there's just a lot to talk about. I really realized the value in conversations with people the other day when I was invited to speak with Nicole Sauce and John Willis from SOE Tactical. And it just it was a really wonderful conversation, and it made me realize that there's just a lot more conversations to be had like that, you know? So, all right, guys, what we're going to do right now is we are going to get into the process of making this this puree, right? So one of the things I got to do here is measure out my fish sauce. Actually, what I'm going to do here, our fish sauce is a bit of a secret. Now, what we use is, you know, there's a number, what we use is a secret, okay? I'll just say that. And why it's a secret is because there are many different kinds of fish sauces out there. Dad and I were talking about this earlier, and we can say that one that has been highly recommended to us that we have yet to experiment with is the Red Boat brand. And we do plan on making some batches with that in the future. And at this time, for the past, I would say for the past, probably since August, we've been using the same type of fish sauce. But before that, we used, I don't know. So in the 6 different recipes that we experimented with before we finally settled on the one that we're doing here, we experimented with probably 4 or 5 different kinds of fish sauces. And the world of fish sauce is an interesting world, to say the least. The bottles are generally packaged quite heavily and nicely because what fish sauce is a sauce of fermented anchovies, and it is a potent blend of stuff. So now, while I'm not going to explicitly detail out what fish sauce we use, I am going to share with you some things to keep in mind when you are looking at fish sauces. Fish sauces are generally a product of Asia, Vietnam, Korea. A lot of them are in Vietnam, and there's a lot to take into consideration. So read about the company, do your own research, be mindful of fish sauces that have sugar and MSG in them. If those are things that you're trying to avoid, you will find them in certain fish sauces. The world of fish sauce is an incredibly diverse and complex world. There's a lot of other fish sauces out there that are made with other seafoods that are not anchovies. So, you know, there's a lot of variety that you can use in the world of fish sauce. And if you wanted to make a vegetarian kimchi, you could use things like coconut aminos, soy sauce, tamari, you know, seaweed aminos and such. There's a number of different products out there that would make a good substitute for something other than fish sauce. But fish sauce is traditionally what we have used. It's in our recipes, and that's what we learned with and what we're going with. So at this point right now, guys, I've got my fish sauce measured out. So I'm gonna go ahead and make this paste, and this is going to be interesting. So bear with me on the stream here, and we'll see if I can't get some music here. Okay. Okay, and I'll go ahead and we'll just have a little bit of background music while I go ahead and make this. Over there to
I understand that some of what I'm saying is going to be picked up on the video here, but what we are doing is simply pureeing the garlic and ginger. We're going to puree a little bit more. What we're doing is pureeing the garlic, the ginger, and the fish sauce. We're going to make that into a nice puree. And at that point, once we've got all the garlic, ginger, and fish sauce into a puree, we're going to fold in the gochugaru peppers. You'll see how I do that. Fold it in just like you would flour into a recipe. And then it turns into a really thick paste, at which point we will then distribute evenly among the dishes over there in the background, okay? So round one is complete. Yeah. So,
Okay, now at this point, we should be back in action, and I'm going to go ahead and kill this background music because I don't think it's necessary right now. So hopefully, guys, for those of you out there in the stream who are watching, let me know what you thought about that. And also, for those of you who are out there in the stream watching, let me know what your experience is with kimchi. As you can see, we are at a point where we've got our fish sauce, our ginger, and our garlic all nicely ground up and pureed together. And we're going to go ahead and fold in our gochugaru pepper blend. And I'll go ahead and share with you the particular gochugaru blend that we use. And as a matter of fact, I don't think I got a chance to do it beforehand, but I most certainly did in this morning's podcast at allaroundgrowth.co. I've linked to everything that we use, including but not limited to this gochugaru pepper blend. So let me go ahead and plug the computer back in, and I will show you the pepper blends that we use. Okay. Again, we use this daikon red pepper powder. It is. This is what we have. This is the brand that we've been using for a while. We buy it in 3-pound bags. I've linked to it in the show notes and the podcast in the 1-pound bag. You can also buy pre-made gochugaru paste in containers just like this at a number of different grocery stores as well, which gives you the opportunity to make kimchi relatively easily. So we're going to go ahead and begin folding in our gochugaru peppers. And quite frankly, we have a lot here. This is one of the biggest batches of kimchi that we have made. In York Meadow Farm history. So as you can see, the consistency of this stuff is already starting to change. And it's almost like baking, you know, trying to get this stuff in there. And you'll see what I mean about the consistency changing very shortly. All right, it's getting a little thicker, a little bit more challenging to stir. So this is all what it takes to create what apparently has become our most popular product. So one other thing I'm thinking about with regard to this is a commercial mixer. You know, that would certainly facilitate the ease of and the time spent on making this, just having this mix up while chopping these other vegetables. But you know, baby steps. We'll see how all this works out, and you know what the next appropriate steps are as we continue to grow this business with your support. You know, the reason we've gotten to this point where we are now, with live streaming, multiple markets, grocery stores, or at least working on getting in there. We're still working through the process. We're not actually in the stores yet. Just got a couple of things to iron out, but we're getting there. And a big part of the reason we've gotten to where we've gotten is because of your support. So thank you very much for everything that you have contributed in all the various ways that you've contributed with the show, with helping with the live stream, foodforestfarms.com. Check them out. And all the people who have helped us with orders, feedback from the online system that places the orders, and just being supportive and encouraging, and also someone to listen to and, you know, just console with when times got tough. And the people that I'm talking about here are audience members from the podcast, and you can learn more about that and connect with the very same people who have helped me get to where I am by simply checking out t.me/allaroundgrowth. That is the group that is being referenced in the banner below. And by being a part of that group, you can learn more about the podcast. Well, you can learn about the podcast that I do and so much more. If you just want to learn about the podcast and you don't want to engage in any additional chats, that's fine. I get that. And you can do so at t.me/allaroundgrowthpodcast. However, I would most certainly encourage you guys who are on Telegram or who aren't on Telegram to, get in there and engage and meet people, because what happens is this turns into real life relationships. And guys, at this point, because this is just so difficult to work with and there's so much in there, I'm going to go in there with the old hands and just get ugly with it, because this is really the best thing to do sometimes. And my dad, the crowd guy, has been known to double glove when he goes in and mixes the kraut with the gochugaru here and the fish sauce and everything, because it's not, well, some people might say that this stuff stinks. I think the aroma of fish sauce is, I think it's good. I think it's a smell that we're just not accustomed to in Western culture as much. But I think it's, and I think for that reason, it grosses a lot of people out. But it is something that's innately human. The art of fermentation is innately human. It dates back in terms of a food preservation process to long before refrigeration was even, a possibility. And not only does it, engage in the act of food preservation, but it alters the flavor, the texture, the consistency, and ultimately the taste of the foods that are being fermented, whether in the case of fish sauce, it's anchovies, or in the case of all of this, it's napa cabbage, daikon radish, some cilantro, and right in here that I'm mixing up, garlic, ginger, fish sauce, and gochugaru. And we are getting to the point where we are reaching that consistency that we want. I just want to make sure that everything is mixed up as adequately as possible. And I believe that we are just about there. Yes, it's looking good to me. How's it looking out there to you guys? I know we're still at a point where we've got small audiences in the live stream, but over time that is going to change, especially when we have multiple cameras set up and showing many different angles. So at some point we're going to have a quad cam set up so we can see everything that's taking place. And I need to get rid of that little banner because we haven't been running the food processor for a couple of minutes, but on the screen it still shows that we are running the food processor. This would be one of those fun times where, as we're running a live stream, people could chime in and comment and say, "Hey, silly, you still got that one comment up." But alas, our listener base is small out there. And again, if you are out there watching and the person that is out there watching isn't simply the action cam right here, I would encourage anybody that's watching either now or at any point in the future to simply drop a comment below and let us know where you're watching from and how you learned about the live stream, because I have cross-posted this on multiple platforms, and I'm excited to be engaging with a number of new people across these platforms. And some of those platforms include, well, I'll just list everything that we're on, and you can see all the social media links and connections that we're on at allaroundgrowth.co in the show notes to each show. But specifically what I'm referring to are some of the new connections that have resulted from my presence here on YouTube, and then also the presence on TikTok, which has been an interesting little adventure. So for those of you who want to follow the show in any way, shape, or form, you can definitely do so on most social medias. You'll find us on most social medias by simply searching for @allaroundgrowth, all around growth, and you will find us. We are on Twitter. We are definitely on Facebook. We are on MeWe. We even have a small community on MeWe. We are also on Telegram. We are on Float. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, and hell, as time goes on, you may find us on even more platforms. All right, guys, so let's get to it. We've got, whoopsies, we've got some mixing to do, and we've got our work cut out for us. So, time to get to it. I'm going to go ahead and pour myself a little bit of water and keep refreshed and hydrated, because that's an important thing to do. I've also been fasting. I've been engaging in an extended fast. Maybe my chewing gum is something that would break my fast, but so be it. I'm not a genuine authentic faster then. But yeah, this is day 3 of an extended fast that I've been on. Why am I fasting? Well, I ended up eating a bunch of Halloween candy after an event that we attended on Saturday night. And I ate a bunch of candy Saturday night, and then I ate a bunch of junk on Sunday, and it just didn't feel, I just didn't feel good. So I decided that I was simply going to, stop eating and fast. Now, fasting is something that I first learned about through the world of intermittent fasting and keto diet and stuff. Many of us are familiar with that. But then I started reading more about fasting in general, and I learned about the benefits of fasting with regard to epilepsy, and decided that I would really explore that and see where that where that would take me. And I've also begun fasting with spiritual intent as well. And although I have not been as consistent with that as some other fasting practices, that has proven beneficial in its own right for my own mental well-being. And I would encourage people to do that. I've actually done episodes about that, and that was something that I referred to as, or that I learned about, called Born Day fasting. And that actually was one of the most popular episodes in podcast history. So if you're interested in some deeper thoughts on fasting, I've talked about that in past podcasts at allaroundgrowth.co. And I've also talked about that in in the Telegram group. Okay, so at this point, for those of you who are interested in what exactly we are getting into right now, we are getting into the weighing of the vegetables that we are going to put into and mix with the cabbage. And then we're going to mix in the paste, and then we're going to get ready and pack things up. All right, so here we go. First, we got the daikons. And basically it comes out to about 2 handfuls per bin. Yep, and then we are adding the daikon radishes. We're going to add the cilantro, add our paste. And we're going to mix it up and call it good. And then we're going to pack it, of course. So you guys will be able to see that as well, or at least part of it, because we're already into well over an hour here, and we'll see how far this goes, or where we're at an hour and a half, I should say. But nevertheless, that's been a big part of the process. You've got to see a lot of what we do. And we talked a lot about this in this morning's show. So this will really give you the ability to, you know, A, see what we're doing here, and B, walk away with enough knowledge to experiment with this and make some yourself. Or, you know, if you just want to eat some good kimchi, you're not really interested in making it at all, then you can always check out yorkmeadowfarm.com. We would gladly provide you with some. Okay. Got a handful of leftovers here. So throw a few in there, few in there, few in there, couple in that one, couple in that one, couple in that one, couple in that one, and last but not least, a couple in that one. And that piece looks gross, so we're going to chunk that and get rid of it. Okay, moving forward, we've got our cilantro. We're going to put about a handful in each, which comes out to somewhere around 60 grams or so. You know, I'm sitting here looking at this cilantro, wondering if I should have chopped it a little finer. And I think, again, when it comes to the chopping of your vegetables, it's all personal preference. And while on a commercial scale, we want to strive for some measure of consistency so that customers always know what to expect, there is always the ability and the flexibility to do whatever you want when you're doing it at home. And that's the beauty of fermentation. And I had a little bit of extra, so this is what we got for extra, right? So we'll just throw a little bit, a little handful, and every little one here. And this is why you don't really have to worry about being a slave to a recipe, because sometimes if you're making something, you know, with stuff right out of the garden or with something you got from the farmer's market, you may not have the opportunity to, you know, be use less scrutiny or whatever. Right? So let's go ahead and measure out our paste. We're looking at 463. So yeah, if you're making kimchi on a large scale, you just make everything in bulk and then distribute it evenly amongst your mixing bowls. You know what's always interesting when you're doing this is when you've got an itch on your neck. And you're not really in the best position to scratch your neck because your hands and your gloves are covered in a paste that has gochugaru and fish sauce, and this stuff really, not only in addition to just having a pungent aroma, the gochugaru stains heavily, and we've learned that it actually stains the inside of the containers that we use. So we are now dedicating specific containers solely to the production of kimchi, and I'll show you what I mean by the staining. Well, I'll show you what I mean right now. This used to be a white spatula matching the color of the handle, but over time, that's kind of what we're looking at here. All right, so it looks like at this point in time, about, if I saw that correctly, we're about at an hour and 45 minutes. And what we're going to do is just, I probably will forego the last little mixing of, or at least the packing. And I'll go ahead and, we'll just go through the mixing of this stuff together. But before I do that, I am going to take one last drink of water, deglove, give my head a good scratch, and then we'll get started again. Oh. Oh, yeah. Okay. So at this point, we have all of our ingredients together, and they're ready to be mixed. Okay? And again, this is just a time-consuming process, but you'll be able to get a good idea of what's going on here with the action cam and how we go about mixing this stuff. And actually, you'll see each one that I'm, well, no, usually I rotate stuff down, but for the purposes of this, but for those of you who aren't sure what kind of consistency to chop your cabbage, this is really what we're looking at here. Something that looks like this. All right? Matchsticks that are about like this. Sometimes they're shorter, sometimes they're longer, sometimes they're thicker, sometimes they're thinner. Depends on how you're slicing it. But the key with mixing this is just making sure that all this paste is evenly distributed in each of these containers. And that is just simply something that takes time, because this stuff is kind of a gooey, pasty mess. And what's happened in here is even though this cabbage is drained, it's still wet, and it's continued to exude some moisture because of the lingering salt that remained on the vegetable matter after draining. And again, you can't drain all the water out of there, and you don't really need to drain all the water out of there because, like I said, like we talked about before, especially in the podcast episode this morning, is when you're draining your cabbage after you've been soaking it, you reserve some of the brine, because once you've packed this in your vessels, you may actually need to top it off to ensure that everything stays submerged. So after doing this after making multiple batches for months on end, I'm not exceptionally diligent about how thoroughly it's drained, because
see some of the water in here is actually conducive to effectively mixing this paste all around these vegetables. So we've got 8 containers like this. Each one will take about, a few minutes to mix. So we're looking at another, half an hour of mixing, and then another half an hour or so of packing and getting everything ready to sit on the fermentation shelves. Now, I think what I'll do after mixing this, I'm just going to go ahead and call quits on the live stream, because this is pretty repetitive and pretty boring. And what I will do is simply show you our, where we keep all the fermented goodies and our storage system. And right now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. We've got 25 5-gallon buckets in production. And roughly 30 pounds a bucket. So we've got about 800 pounds, 850 pounds, something like that in there. I don't know. This batch is going to result in making about 70 pounds of kimchi today. And I think in the next, this is all, it's been a great experience in terms of live streaming. But as we get more and more, tuned in and refined with the process here, we're actually going to do some, like I said earlier when Dad was here, some live streams scheduled with Dad, and that'll be a lot of fun. Hopefully to get some engagement. Because when we work together, not only do we work faster, but it might be a good opportunity to monitor the computer while I'm working, have him and teach me a little bit about what we're doing, and maybe have, through StreamYard, have all that recorded. So anyways, guys, that's about it. But what you can see here now, here on the action cam, is basically what we want to see. We don't have any more pasty chunks. We don't have any more big gobs of stuff. Everything is pretty well mixed in there, and we are ready to move on to the next batch. So there's a better. Whoops. Well, guys, it looks like the other battery died on my phone. So basically, if I'm going to do these multi-streams, I'm limited to what battery life I have on my phone unless I've got them hooked up to an individual charger. And as you can see on the action cam, I can't have that one linked up to an additional charger because I've got the mic on that phone. So anyways, it's been almost 2 hours. I appreciate those of you who watched live. I appreciate those of you who tuned in at a later date to see how we make kimchi. But basically at this point, I've got one batch mixed up. I've got 7 more batches to go and mix up. And then ultimately, we will go ahead and place them in 5-gallon buckets. And like I said, just to give you guys an idea of what we're looking at here, this is our fermentation station. We have racks where we store all of the 5-gallon buckets that are actively fermenting. We've got 4 batches of bean kraut here. We've got an experimental purple carrot cheese, another purple cheese that I made over there with purple cabbage. We've got 5 buckets of kimchi down here. We've got 3 lemon dill on the bottom, 3 jalapeno, 3 caraway right here, and 4 traditional right here. Some experimental green onions behind the computer, and a couple batches of curtido back here. So anyways, guys, that's it for today's live stream. I appreciate you tuning in, and I look forward to doing more of this with you in the future. So thank you very much for your presence today. If you like what you saw and you like what we're doing here on the farm, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more. And also check out youtube.com/@York Meadow Farm and follow the York Meadow Farm YouTube channel for more content similar to this, but different, including walking tours where you can learn about everything that's going on here on the homestead and more. So this is Rob Kaiser, and thank you.